Okay, guys, this video is going to cover part 2 of chapter P, section 2, part C, the simplifying radicals. We're going to finish off with the rationalizing of denominators. Just a reminder that you're going to submit these notes at the end, so make sure that you get to write everything down. And if you need to, pause the video so that you can make sure you get it all down. At the end of P2 part C is dividing with radicals. So square roots normally cannot be kept in the denominator of a fraction. So earlier I said we're going to put it here for now, but you can't keep it here, and this is what I meant. What we do to get rid of it is called rationalizing the denominator. So when you see something like this, we're going to multiply both the numerator and the denominator by the radical in the denominator, and it's going to cancel out from the bottom. It's okay to leave it in the top, but it's going to cancel out from the bottom. And then when we get to ones that have an expression in the bottom, so it says a plus or minus in between the terms, we're going to multiply by the opposite expression in both the numerator and the denominator. So for the first one, we would multiply both the numerator and the denominator by square root 2. Now the reason we can do this is square root 2 over square root 2 simplifies to 1, and you can multiply anything by 1. So we're not changing the value of the fraction, we're just rewriting by rationalizing. So the numerator becomes 5 square root 2, and the denominator becomes square root 2 times square root 2, which is just 2. And we've eliminated the square root from the bottom. It's okay, again, okay in the top, and this is how we'll leave it. For the next one, because it's not just a single term, we can't just multiply by square root 3. It wouldn't get rid of it. So we multiply by the opposite of the expression in the bottom, meaning you keep the terms the same, but you change the sign. Because this is a plus, we make it a minus. If it was a minus, we'd multiply with the plus. Okay, again, we have to do it both the top and the bottom so as to not change the actual value of the fraction. So in the numerator, we're going to distribute the 2. 2 times 2 is 4. Minus 2 square root 3. And in the denominator, we're going to FOIL. So the first would be 4. Outer, negative 2 root 3. Inner, positive 2 root 3. Last, negative square root 3 times square root 3, which is 3. So what's going to happen in the middle is that these are going to cancel, which is why we multiplied by the opposite sign. A negative root 3 and a positive root 3 cancel, and then 4 minus 3 is just 1. You won't always end up with 1 in your denominator, so this time I get 4 minus 2 root 3 is my answer. You can get another number in the denominator, but what shouldn't happen is there shouldn't be a square root there anymore. All right, so let's practice some of those other examples. Examples 23 to 25, just say to simplify. So you'd have to know that what's wrong with this fraction is the square root in the bottom. We can't reduce, like 2 and 3 can't be reduced, so I would have always checked that first, which means I have to multiply both the top and the bottom by the square root of 3. So my numerator becomes 7, and then square root 2 times square root 3 is square root 6 over square root 3 times square root 3, which is just 3. 3 doesn't go into 7, so it's going to stay exactly like it is. 24, the square root in the top is fine. It's the square root in the bottom that's the problem, so I'm going to multiply by the square root of 3 in both the top and the bottom. In the top, I'm going to distribute, so 4 gets the square root of 3 plus 2, or square root 2 and square root 3, which is square root 6. And then in the denominator again, square root 3, so it's just 3. 3 does not go into 4 square root 3 or square root 6, so we're going to keep this exactly as it is. If this was multiple choice, sometimes you also will see this split into 2 equations or 2 fractions. Just realize that those are the same thing. Okay, now 25 has a sum in the bottom. So I'm going to multiply by the opposite, 3 minus square root 2. My numerator, distribute the 1. It's just 3 minus square root 2. And then the denominator. Okay, then the bottom first. 3 times 3 is 9. Outer. 3 times negative root 2, negative 3 root 2. Inner, positive 3 root 2. And last, negative square root 2 times square root 2, which is just 2. Again, these cancel out like they should, and then 9 minus 2 is 7. 7 doesn't go into 3 or square root 2, so it's going to stay exactly like that. Okay, last example. Again, you've got a sum or difference on the bottom. It's a difference this time, so we're going to multiply both the numerator and the denominator by the opposite. Now this time, there's a binomial on the top and in the bottom, so we have to FOIL out both. We're going to FOIL the numerator. 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times square root 2, positive 3 root 2. Positive 2 times 1, positive root 2, and positive root 2 times positive root 2, which is positive 2. Combine your like terms here. 3 plus 2 gives you 5, and these are exactly the same root, so I can combine 3 root 2 plus 1 root 2, which would be 4 root 2. That's my numerator. Now I got to do the same thing in the denominator. 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times root 2 is root 2. Negative root 2 times 1 is negative root 2. Negative 2 times positive 2. Negative root 2 times positive root 2 is negative 2. And like it's supposed to, the positive root 2 and the negative 2 are going to cancel out. 1 minus 2 is negative 1. Now this is correct, but we can take it a step further. Because that bottom is a negative 1, we can just simply divide negative 1 into each of these or change the signs on the 5 and the 4 root 2. So my most simplified answer would be negative 5 minus 4 root 2. All right, guys, so that wraps up P2C. You want to submit your notes that you just took for the last couple of examples. You want to then use the rest of the time to do one of two things. Work on the P.2C homework. Finish that up, what you hadn't been able to do from last night. That one's due tomorrow. And then use tonight or use the rest of the time to work on the quiz review. That's also posted on Canvas. The solutions are already posted on there, so there's no need to turn this in. This is only for review for your quiz, which is Friday. And I will be with you guys tomorrow, but I will also be available Thursday after school for some additional help if you're feeling like you need it. So just make arrangements to stay after school, and I will see you tomorrow.